Hello everybody, my dear English speaking followers, astrology lovers, welcome to my channel. My name is Olga Vasilchuk and I would like to present you today the analysis of the transits for the two upcoming weeks from the full moon in Taurus on October 24th until the new moon in Scorpio of November 7th, 2018. Well, my friends, the upcoming full moon in the second degree of Taurus, the moon will be in 113 degree of Taurus, in opposition to the Sun in Scorpio. It will be rather complex. It will be formed on October 24th at noon 45 Montreal time. On October 24th, on the eve of the full moon, the Sun in Scorpio will be in opposition to Uranus in Taurus, and this opposition will create the background aspect, the background energy of the full moon. The moon in Taurus, in the sign of its exaltation, will be in conjunction with Uranus, and this conjunction will be in opposition to the conjunction Sun-Venus. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, the sign of the full moon, right? Venus in its turn will be in conjunction with the Sun. I remind you that Venus now is in its retrograde phase and it's approaching to its combustion at the moment of its conjunction with the Sun on October 26th. And Venus is in the sign of its fall, it's in Scorpio. So in addition to these two oppositions, Sun, Moon, Venus, Uranus, and we can also say that we'll have two more oppositions, Sun, Uranus, and Venus, Moon, right? Double opposition. In addition to this double opposition, the axis of the full moon is in an exact square to the lunar nodes, which adds tension. We are actually now at the top of the middle point of the eclipses corridor, where the themes of the eclipses of summer 2018 can come back in our lives in the form of conflicts and confrontations. Actually, the corridor of eclipses is the time when the themes of the eclipses of the previous season intersect with the themes of the upcoming season of eclipses, that of winter 2019, on the axis Cancer-Capricorn. So since Venus is involved in the configuration of this upcoming full moon, revenues, expenses, relationship, professional and romantic, financial relationships can be objects of discussions, conflicts, altercations. They can be also objects of new projects. But all our new projects will just burst. They will burst out, which will manifest itself in events which dynamics will leave its apogee during the day near the full moon. And this apogee will be characterized by all kinds of excesses, by the word too much. The excessive use or excessive spending of energy may give exhaustion, excesses of frustrations, conflicts accompanied by the explosion of emotions, the acts that we can commit, acts that we may regret later or that we may even be ashamed of. We risk to act in a state of blindness and dizziness, so extremely intense energies tearing us apart. So the problem is that the tearing energies of this full moon will push us to get beyond the limits of what is allowed, of what has been allowed so far. They will push us to get rid of the circumstances that previously hindered our progress towards our goals. And these energies will force us to take radical measures. For stable and lasting relationships, this period will allow us to feel well our partner, to settle disputes, to calm down contradictions, and to resolve conflicts with our partner. But for unstable relationships, this may be the moment of separation, unfortunately. This is not the best time to borrow or to lend money. Don't forget that we are in the end of the cycle of Venus relatively to the Sun. So this is the best moment to give back our debts if we owe money to somebody, okay? But not to borrow or to lend money. Debtors will not be able to prove their reliability in the future. Promises made now will be broken in the future also. There is a risk of injury, of course, that increases during the full moon. The number of accidents and disaster increases. We have to be careful while driving, and in everything that we can control, it's now better to keep control as much as possible. So we have here double opposition in which 4 planets are involved: Sun, Moon, Venus, and Uranus. But the day of the full moon, on the 24th of October, we have a one positive harmonious aspect, the sextile Venus-Saturn, which gives positive impact on the chart of the full moon, which will absorb the tension of these 2 oppositions. The aspect recommends and helps us to stay reserved, calm, not to succumb to emotional provocations, to seek a compromise, to stick to what has been tested by time. So the conjunction, the combustion of Venus, conjunction Sun-Venus on October 26. I would like to remind you that since the beginning of the retrograde loop of Venus in September 3rd and until this conjunction, Sun-Venus, which marks the end of the previous cycle of Venus and the beginning of a new cycle of Venus related to the Sun, starting from October 27th. During all these days, we have been summarizing the past life scenarios in the spheres of Venus, love and money. And after October 26, after the conjunction Sun-Venus, and until the end of the retrograde phase of Venus on November 16th, we will use this time for the formation of new trends in the spheres of Venus. The days close to October 27th will be in the center of our attention. It will be a sort of a new moon conjunction Venus-Sun, new moon, the beginning of a new cycle. During the first half of the loop and at the end of cycle Venus-Sun, we saw how our old values, needs and motivations died, and we will look for new motives, reasons, motivations to build our partnerships and our relationships with finances in the future. The day of the conjunction Sun-Venus will be the day of increased emotional receptivity, full of active creative energy. The need for self-expression in the romantic sphere may wake up. However, we must ensure that our self-expression doesn't turn into narcissism and doesn't repel the partner. There's also a risk of overestimation of our forces, of our strength during the conjunction Sun-Venus. I remind you that the retrograde phase of Venus that will last from October 5th until November 16th will bring to the surface the contradictions and unresolved personal conflicts, and could also cause financial losses, investments, or unsuccessful purchases. The retrograde phase of Venus is the period of review of our values and of the rules of the game in partnerships and in management of our finances. I invite you to watch the video on the retrograde phase of Venus that I prepared, a separate video on this subject, on this astrological event. On October 28 and 29, we have 2 very harmonious transit aspects. The Sun in sextile with Saturn on October 28 will offer us fruitful contacts with influential people, with superiors, very useful, fruitful contacts that maybe we actually need at this moment. The manifestation of the visible result of our past efforts, the implementation of plan, this is what is offered by this aspect. It's time to make responsible decisions. It's time of self-discipline and of work on a specific outcome. It will be possible this day to lay the foundation for future success. On October 29, just before its ingression into Sagittarius, Mercury will be in conjunction with Jupiter. And this gorgeous conjunction will give us opportunity to benefit from contacts with the rich and famous influential people. The days close to the exact aspect will be excellent days to work with any kind of information, to study, to memorize something, to pass an interview or a test. It will be also a good day for shopping, including purchase of expensive items, expensive objects. The aspect conjunction Mercury-Jupiter will reveal the capacity of the broad vision of the world and will create the need to speak or to reflect on the values of life. So Mercury enters Sagittarius on October 21st. I remind you that Mercury will walk through the signs of Sagittarius and Scorpio until the end of the year, because we will live in November the 3rd of this year, retrograde phase of Mercury. So I would like to remind you the chronology of its ingressions. So October 21st, Mercury enters Sagittarius. It will become retrograde in November in Sagittarius. It gets back to Scorpio on the 1st of December. It becomes then direct being in Scorpio, and it enters again in Sagittarius on December 12th. The characteristic feature of the transit of Mercury by Sagittarius is the freedom of communication. During this period, promises are made easily, as well as grandiose projects. During this transit, we may tend to have an overly optimistic thoughts, a tendency to build sand castles and to easily believe in the reality of the sand castles of others. The transit promises interesting encounters, especially with the reputable or famous people, with the foreigners. In addition, we could start thinking about work or studies abroad, or about traveling to a foreign country. Tense transit aspects, oppositions and squares to Mercury in Sagittarius can bring superficiality and dispersion of judgments, overestimation of our knowledge and of our abilities. Gossip, desire to give instructions to everyone and to moralize also increases. There may be communication problems due to excessive arrogance, familiarity, hypocrisy. I mean here tense transit aspects to Mercury in Sagittarius. On October 23rd, Venus is in exact opposition to Uranus. Remember that the full moon happened in the orb of the opposition Venus-Uranus, which will become exact on October 21st. The beginning of a new cycle of Venus relative to the Sun, that started on October 26th, at the moment of the conjunction Sun-Venus, occurred almost at the moment of the opposition Venus-Uranus. Uranus is a planet of revolution, of a cardinal and drastic revivals and changes. So it means that new trends in the Venusian sphere will begin to appear as a result of profound transformations, of cardinal renewal of value systems, of our value systems and of our priorities. And these changes can even be a result of irreversible destruction of past forms in the Venusian spheres. So during the opposition Venus-Uranus, mood changes are possible, as well as the dependence of physical well-being on the emotional background. We must try not to make important decisions under the influence of feelings. There is a risk of incorrect assessment of the situation. The same goes for financial expenses. In personal relationships, spontaneous outbursts of emotions can lead to conflicts, so we should think about not hurting the partner. Relationships that are fragile can be broken these days. On October 31st, Venus, being retrograde, enters again in Libra, because it started its retrograde phase being in Scorpio, right? So I would like to remind you of the chronology of its ingressions. So October 31st, Venus enters Libra. It becomes direct on November 16th, being in Libra. On December 2nd, it enters again in Scorpio, and then, it stays until the end of the year, and Venus enters Sagittarius on the 7th of January 2019. My friends, the last major aspect of the last week of the lunar month, just before the new moon in Scorpio on November 7th, will be the trine of the Sun in Scorpio to Neptune in Pisces. This aspect will awaken intuitive abilities, especially in the areas of art, music, religion, and mysticism. This aspect will offer us inspiration, imagination, fantasies, high states of consciousness, increased sensitivity, ability to telepathic communications, healing abilities, psychological and parapsychological sensitivity, ability to positively affect the mental state of the surrounding environment of other people, musicality, poetry, kindness, mercy. Okay, but the negative side of this interaction of Sun and Neptune is reverie, too many dreams, idealism, when our feet are not on the ground, when we are detached from the real life. And I would like also to add here that the energies of the last days on the eve of the new moon in Scorpio on November 7th will be very peaceful, calm, and serene, thanks to this trine, Sun, Neptune, but also, in addition, two other harmonious aspects will be formed during the new moon. I will talk about them the next time, of course. The trine Venus, Mars, and we will be still in the orbit of the sextile Sun, Saturn. In addition to these three harmonious aspects, trines and sextile, at the moment of the new moon, we will live two very important ingressions. The ingression of Jupiter in Sagittarius on November 8th, and the lunar nodes will change the axis. They will pass in the signs of Cancer, Capricorn on November 6th. I will prepare two separate videos on the ingression of Jupiter and on the ingression of the nodes. Considering that the next new moon of November 7th will close the corridor of the midpoint of eclipses, I could say that we are on the threshold of change, of major changes, of major shift of energies. We are at the very beginning of a totally new cycle of our life. And the change of focus of our attention will be provoked, first of all, by the transition of the lunar nodes to the axis of the preceding signs, from Leo Aquarius to Cancer Capricorn, which means that the next three seasons of eclipses to come until May 2020, because in May 2020 the nodes will pass into the signs of Sagittarius and Gemini, the next three seasons of eclipses will indicate us new karmic tasks according to the theme of the axis Cancer Capricorn. And that's why I have the feeling that something extremely heavy, difficult, conflictual, heavy, not easy to handle, is really behind, almost behind. We will start a new life in 2 weeks. New moon, two ingressions of Jupiter and of the nodes, the end of the corridor of eclipses, and get ready. Good luck for this full moon. Thank you for your time and for your attention, and I talk to you very, very soon. Goodbye.